Welcome to Champion Parks Lake podcast. We are live here from Seattle, Washington. My name is K-Dub Myers Brewer. On behalf of Flow Racing, I want to thank everybody for listening in. Also, Besser Health Shield Spots is going to be giving away another case, so make sure that you post any questions you have. Make sure that you tell us where you are commenting from. We have three guests tonight. We have Mike Deck, Jason Bonanno, and J-Dub Nelson. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Champion Parks Lakes podcast, guys.
Thanks for having us.
We're going to start this off with your guys' history of how you got into racing. There's quite the variety between the three of you. J-Dub, we're going to start with you because you are a third-generation driver. Give us a little bit of background on your grandpa's driving and your dad's driving and how you became a driver.
Yep. So my grandpa started racing stock outboards probably in the 50s, maybe 60s. And then got my dad racing. My dad has an older sister, two younger brothers. They all raced. They were all pretty good. You know, my dad ended up racing like 500 runabout and did pretty well at that. And then kind of moved on to tunnel boats. So I was like 15, 16, and I had to start writing letters to my dad to like beg him to buy me a 45. So like that's kind of how it started. But he ended up breaking down, of course, and 2003, I think I started racing 45, and like they decided to bring me to Bay City for my first race. So that was quite the eye opener, though.
Well, explain to us about your first experience and your first race.
Yep. Honest to God, like the first time I went out in Bay City, like just testing, I went testing one time in Canada, and we test on like this canal. It's pretty flat. And I went out for my first like test session. Fred Miller's like, just stay on the outside. Don't do anything stupid. You know, you got to obey Fred's rules to like get in the show. And anyways, like the first test, I was just out there and I was like, man, this is like beating me up. But yeah. And then like the second test session, I feel like I really started to learn how to drive a tunnel boat and like get over the chop and like learn how to air the boat out and make it like less rough.
Well, you started your racing career when you were about 3 weeks old, because Dana's going to pull up a picture of you at your race, and you were 3 years old. Do you want to explain a little bit more about the picture you're going to be posting up here?
Let's see this thing.
There it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I was like 2 or 3 weeks old. I think that's down in Texas, I believe. I could be wrong. But yeah, I was like laying on my dad's boat at 2 weeks old, so I had a race at some point.
It's a sweet smell of boat racing, you know. It's just everybody loves it. It's either going to wake you up or put you to sleep, but we love the sweet smell of boat racing. Mike Deck,
Yes.
you started your racing career on a little bit different angle. You had a racing career. Your dad had a boat in the barn that you had your eye on, but it took you a few years before you got onto it. And you went to a racing school in Michigan. Tell us about the racing school you went to.
So I went to the Michigan Hydroplane Racing Association, a stock outboard, and actually found out on the website, you're right, my dad had ran B utility back in the 40s and 50s. And as a kid, never let me play with his boat, right? It's not a toy. That's a high performance racing machine. You can't play with that. You can't go out and use it. So as a kid, what do you want to do? You're going to do it all the time, right? And so I did race for school, actually with my dad. And that got me going in stock outboard. And then I'm not the youngest spring chicken anymore, even though my mind says I am. And with some knee issues, I started to look elsewhere. And that's how I ended up going into 45s.
Now, Jason, you got your career started in 2012, a little bit later start. But that's because you're blessed with a couple really high-profile neighbors. Why don't you tell us exactly who your neighbors are and how you
Yeah, so I had been a boat person all my life, and a name by the person of Terry Kerr moved onto my street back 2012, 2013, and this one random day he had his trailer full of runabouts in his driveway, and I kind of inquired about what it was and, you know, if I could maybe take it out for a test drive the next time he took it out. And if anybody knows Terry, the answer was a bit more direct and said, you know, he goes, you just can't go out and drive around in that thing. There's no MC or watercraft numbers on it, but you can race it if you want.
Uh-oh.
That's all I do. Right? And he said, well, give me $50. I said, okay, for what? And it kind of goes to what Mike said. It was $50 to go to the same MHRA racer school. Years after Mike did, I do believe maybe Mike was one of my instructors, if I remember right, maybe. So I got there, and typically in that racer school, they put you in the hydroplane division. But being Terry's neighbor, he said, none of my neighbors are going to drive a hydro. This guy's driving a roll-up B runabout. So I was the first graduating class of the Michigan hydroplane in a roll-up runabout. So that's kind of how I got started. So I raced roll-ups and B runabout with some pretty great drivers across the country: Terry, Ed Hearn, Brian Trollian. So kind of got initiated with some pretty heavy veteran guys on the kneel down side. And, about halfway through my kneel down career, I then ran into who everybody knows as Scoop or Robert Trollian, right? So, during the kneel downs, Robert's brother Brian was equally as helpful as Terry was. So they both brought me along, and then Scoop showed up one year in Alexandria. We kind of buddied up and trailered up and traveled around the country. Then I met his other brother, Paul, who was a 45 driver at the time, Paul Trollian. So I crewed for him at a couple local races here in the Detroit area, Roar on the River, Bay City, and decided to make the move to tunnel boats. And with a lot of help from a lot of people, that's where I sit today. So.
Well, speaking of the outboards, we also want to mention that Champion Park Lake, Springfield, Ohio, is hosting the Stock Mod J Nationals. That will be July 12th through the 18th. Registration is open. So for our listeners at home that want to maybe start getting into boat racing, that would be the best way to do it, is to make sure you come out to Springfield, Ohio, July 12th through the 18th. I have a feeling that, Jason, will you be there? Because you have two young drivers coming up into the outboards.
That's correct. So I'll have two visits this year to Springfield, one for the 45s and one for my both of my daughters in the Stock Outboard Nationals. So my oldest daughter, this will be her third year. She'll be racing a runabout, and my younger daughter, Alyssa, is making her rookie debut in AX Hydro. So both very competitive people. So there's a limited amount of equipment in my trailer, so I can only see the arguments that are going to be in my future.
Well, coming from a race boat with family, I know the feeling. I feel the pain. I remember going to Michigan for Wakefield, I don't know how many times, and we would put 9 boats on a trailer to be able to get for my brother, my dad, and I all to be able to race back in Michigan. Speaking of Michigan, you guys and I discussed a great race from outboarders. Every outboarder knows it. It's called Topo. And Mike Deck, let's start with you. Why don't you give us your experience of Topo?
So Topo is a great race. I tried 3 times on Topo. Once, so I did the racing school with my dad. And at that time, I believe he was in his late 70s. When we did the racing school, and he still had his boat and motor from the 40s and 50s. So he went up and raced that in Topo. He was going to do Topo, and we were sitting at Camp Kerr's, and John Broge Sr. goes, "Well, how come you're not running out there with your dad?" Right? And I said, "Well, I don't have a boat. I don't have a motor." So I borrowed actually John Broge's boat and went out there with a KG4 and didn't even get past. It's a rumor whether or not I purposely broke down at the Breakers Bar. I was thirsty, or I just didn't want to do it, right? What the rumor is. I cannot deny it or admit it. The following year, a couple years later, I actually ran my dad's 1947 Schweitzer Craft Baby Bullet and a KG7. Finished Saturday. One of the funniest things that ever happened to me, I mean, that thing had a top speed of 40, right? I'm out here with these C guys, the 25s are just whipping by me. And I would stop because the tanks weren't big enough on those little, the old antique Mercs. I carried jerry cans with me. I would just stop in the middle of the lake and fill up the motor, right? When I was running out of gas. And of course, all the rest of you guys, you okay? You okay? So Indian River is only open for 2 hours. They close it for 2 hours for the race boats. And they're at driver's meeting, it's very well known that if you go into Indian River past this 2 o'clock, you will be ticketed. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So to an hour and 59 minutes, I'm coming into Indian River to finish. And I look down at my watch, and by this time I'm exhausted because the magneto on that KG7, the clip holding it had let go. So if you can picture this, I have an arm through the steering wheel, holding the dead man's throttle. I'm sitting sideways, and I'm holding the magneto behind me.
I wonder if he's got pictures of that. That'd be great.
There is a couple of pictures of it somewhere.
Okay.
And the Coast Guard's out there, the sheriff's out there. I see them. I'm exhausted. I'm getting in Indian River. It's a nice smooth water. It's a real blast to drive. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to go through it idle, right? And so these guys start waving at me. One of them comes up and he's like, you made it. Let's go ahead and get through as fast as you can. We'll keep the river open another 15 minutes if you can get through it in 15 minutes. So the next day I took it out, and long story short, after 45 years of asking my dad, I split that Schweitzer craft down the center. I drove it up did a Fred Flintstone, put it right up on the beach, and they have not asked him if I could borrow it again.
You lost that opportunity.
I didn't lose that opportunity, but that's a memory that will live with me for the rest of my life.
Well, Jason, you had some fuel issues, I guess you could say, when you raced at Topo. Go ahead and explain that story.
Yeah, so one of the goals of Topo is just to finish, right? It's a pretty brutal race. Your body gets abused, your equipment gets abused, and I can't remember what year it was. I had a malfunction of not using red Loctite was the root cause. So the rough water had rattled my fuel pump loose, and it took me a couple miles to figure out what was going on. So I kind of pulled off to the side and was looking for shoelaces or chicken wire or anything I could find on the shore to somehow get my fuel pump reattached to the motor so it would pump fuel to keep the boat running to finish the race.
Because everybody carries a toolbox in their boat.
Yeah, normally the marathon guys will put a specific set of needed tools in the boat. I didn't do it that year. All I needed was one Allen wrench, and I would have been fine. But anyway, so long story short, couldn't get it back running. I would get the boat running, start it, go about 300 feet. The bowl of the carburetor would empty. So I looked back at the motor and was like, well, looked at my watch and I had about 33 minutes left till the river closed, and I had about 25 miles to go. Kind of looked around and said, well, do I give up? Do I call back in and have them come get me? And then I looked down in my cockpit and I saw the squeeze ball that I used to prime the motor to start it. So essentially I finished like the last 25 miles of the Sunday race pumping the primer bulb with my left foot, going 60 miles an hour down Indian River to keep the motor running. So it didn't run out of fuel and shut off. So hearing the stories from my kids, the announcer was going crazy because they have spotters along the shore to give the folks updates on the drivers, and it was, he's going, he's not going, he's going, he's not going. Right, so I literally came around the final turn, saw the finish line, looked down at the clock in my boat, and there was like 33 seconds left till 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I ended up finishing the race. So that's my topo story. And it was a finish, right? I mean, it was the best, probably dead last finish story I could come up with in my racing career so far.
There is a lot of videos of Topo, a lot of pictures of Topo in Michigan.
Yeah.
So much fun. I have not been able to go there. It's usually the week after nationals. So, I got to take a week off for nationals. I can't take more time off for that. But one of these days I will make it out there. I'm sure I might be able to get myself a ride. We'll have to see.
Yeah, we can find one.
I wonder if I can get my 1100 runabout through there. Do you think I could do that, Mike Deck?
It'd be interesting.
I could be a lot of fun. Well, Mike Deck and J-Dub Nelson have been out testing out, is from what I'm hearing. There was somebody who chimed in just a little bit ago saying, how was testing last weekend? Is there something you want to fill me in on that we didn't talk about earlier? Somebody posted in there, how was testing last weekend?
The only thing I can think of is that both Jason and myself did our capsule certification, but
Capsules.
Yeah.
I bet you that. Okay, so let's talk about that. That was going to be one of my questions later on, but we'll go ahead and start with it now. But first, I want to remind everybody that they go ahead and post where you are from. Make sure you bring in all your questions. We are giving another Besser Health Shield spots away, and it's going to be fun. Everybody comes through cell testing. There it is. So we call it capsule training. Some people call it dunk tank training. I'm going to let Mike Deck, since you had the great video on your Facebook, I'm going to let you go ahead and explain how the capsule training works.
So before I say I've got a great video on the Facebook, there's somebody, I wouldn't have that video without somebody in this room.
Yes,
To be 100% honest. And that was Jason Bonanno, who was recording me. So on the Facebook, I did a video. The capsule training or cell training is something that we're mandated to do every 2 years. And what it is, purpose is to simulate an accident and to allow you to become comfortable with using your safety gear and egressing from the boat. And so this year, some of the rules have changed, and we are all mandated to have an air system. Most of us already had air systems in our boats, but now it's mandatory. And then the second thing is that it is mandatory to now have a head restraint, so like a Hans device. And we, since were both mandatory, what we did last weekend was actually film with an underwater camera that the head restraint will not interfere with getting out of the cockpit. So I became a overnight YouTube star because I've never had 3,000 views of a video, and then in 24 hours, all of a sudden there's 3,000 people watching this video of me hanging up, basically hanging out upside down. And you go through the motions, and we train for it, so it's a second reflex, right? And it's kind of interesting if you see the video on it, you'll see my hand go up, right? And you'll see one of the rescue divers that was there acting like he's giving me a high five. And I talked to him afterwards. I said, "Do you know what I was doing?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I forgot. You're going through the motion of clearing your cockpit, clearing your canopy, right? Pushing that canopy, making sure it's away. Then taking kind of a deep breath and hanging out upside down and finding the strap or getting rid of the steering wheel, finding your strap, releasing yourself, then rolling out." So I couldn't do it without somebody going right in front of me who, also did it, which was Jason.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys have to do that every 2 years. It's also for you guys to be able to be into a routine, but it also helps with the race rescue crew. So they're familiar with you as a driver, and that they're familiar, and they also get their training so that it's, same thing with them. All three of you are going to be starting off the year for 2021, coming to Champion Park Lake with brand new boats. J-Dub Nelson, cat's out of the bag. You have a brand new boat coming out.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I mean, listen. Anyone that knows my dad knows he doesn't buy one of anything. So he may or may not have ordered twins from Gary Pugh. I have no idea. But anyway, I apologize. I'm in the car tonight. I'm actually my dad's in the hospital. He's probably going to get out tomorrow. Things are looking up, but Anyway, driving to New York right now, so I apologize for that.
That's okay. We're glad to have you on here. We wish well wishes for your dad. You know, we've all been watching him over the last couple of years, and he's always on all of our minds and all of our thoughts. So are you going to be bringing both boats to Springfield, Ohio?
No, I don't think so.
Why?
We'll see. We'll see. Whatever one's faster will be there. So
you got to have a backup boat. You never know who's going to be out there. Your two guys next to you. You never know. We've watched these two battle it out before. Mike Deck,
Yes.
You have a very interesting story. Last year, you retired your 1994 boat and purchased another one. Why would you retire a boat that you were so comfortable with that has got, I don't know, how many people have driven that boat?
So first of all, we nicknamed the boat the Doorknob. Everybody and their brother had a turn on that thing, right? I had guys coming up to me. I raced this thing back in 1997. Do you see that? I built that. I added that on, right? I think everybody and their brother has driven this boat. I originally bought it as just to make sure I wanted to get into the sport, right? I already kind of planned on that I was going to upgrade it and update it. I just wanted to make sure 100%. And it was actually on Saturday, the last heat of 45. I'm being lowered in by my crew chief, and a little gust of wind comes, and all of a sudden the canopy on the boat just basically does a Dorothy and goes flying off. And I'm like, I'm really starting to wonder about the whole, this boat has seen more Bay cities than all of us combined, right? I'm really starting to wonder how she's holding up. And I think it's time that we get a new boat. And I'd already planned on it. And I was actually talking to another racer. And first of all, when that blew off, I'm still trying to get out in the heat, right? Because Jason and I were having fun during those heat races. And, being the little back markers and just fighting with each other, right? And I was like, I really don't want to be DFL on the dock, so crew chief, just duct tape the canopy in, let's go. Right?
Duct tape sells everything.
Duct tape fixes everything. My crew chief, Andrew Bailey, I love him, he's my second mother. No, we're not going to do that. Well, why? Come on, let's go, right? You're in the heat of the moment, the boats are going out, and he's like, God forbid something happens, the rescue guys are going to have no idea that I just taped you shut inside your cockpit. No, I'm not doing it. Fine. We're going to run without a canopy. And at the meantime, he's hooking the boat on the trailer, and he's like, and we're on the radio. And he's like, nope, you don't have a full face helmet, I'm not letting you go. Stop, right? I don't think Jason, if I remember correctly, I ended up buying Jason Bonanno's boat. And I don't think you were unhooked in that heat before I walked over.
No,
the motor was still warm from the heat before, and you're like, well, just keep it running. I'm going out in it.
Right. Yeah.
So you ended up buying Jason. So that means Jason has to go buy a new boat or build a boat. So Jason, I believe Paul Trollian is working hard to get your boat ready for 2021 Wake the Lake 5. Go ahead and give us some insight on your boat, because it's going to be a lot different than everybody else's.
Yeah, I think, Paul and I had a lot of discussions over the winter, and, it's gonna be a little bit of a different design than the standard 45s that are out there. So it's gonna look a little bit similar to an F1 capsule on a 45 chassis. So from a safety perspective, got a lot more room on the inside. Not that I'm claustrophobic, but I can move a little bit better. It's got some crash boxes on the sides for side impact, and I did also put an airbag system in it as well. So for me, Jason Nelson and I have long conversations in the pits on how we both got to go to work on Monday, I think is the statement that we say to each other, right? So kind of went the extra mile on the safety end of it for sure. And I'm excited to get it out on the water, no doubt.
Yeah, exactly. Safety is a big factor. We do want to make sure that you guys can all get to work on Monday morning, because crashes happen. That's, it's part of racing, but I have a feeling, Jason, that your boat might be maybe like the promo for Paul. So he might want to get together because he's going to be starting to build a lot of 45s because everybody is thinking safety. That is the big factor.
Right.
So we're going to go back over to J-Dub. J-Dub, you have an awesome boat that has got some really cool eagles on it, Screaming Eagles. Can you go ahead and tell everybody what the whole background is on the Screaming Eagle?
Yeah. I wish I knew it better, but my dad, he's an architect, so like, he's all into like how things look, obviously. And he found that on, I don't know who had it, but it was on a Formula One car at one point. And he kind of took that, gave it to my grandpa, his father, obviously. And the guy he can do anything. I mean, my dad and my grandfather used to build all their own boats. So when they all ran stock, they all ran their own boats, like all his brothers and sisters. And then when they ran like pro runabout, they also built that boat. And it was pretty fast. And then when they got the tunnel boats, it was just kind of like my dad was the driver. My grandpa fixes anything that breaks. And then like we had our crew chief, Bill Husson, to kind of rig the boat and do all the electrical and the motor work on it. So
exactly. Mike Deck, you got a brand new boat. You got a brand new wrap. And you have a competition going on your Facebook. And explain to us, everybody, what the competition was and how it ended.
So very fortunate that I've got a graphic company up here, BCS Creative, right? Got to throw in those plugs. And he wrapped the first boat for me. And so I came back and said, hey, I've got a new boat. And by the way, I don't think Jason would really appreciate if I ran the exact same design colors that he ran, right?
It makes it very difficult for the announcers when you all have the same boats.
Yes,
right now.
So he sent me a couple of quick renderings, and we threw it up on Facebook and asked the fans to say, hey, you had option 1 or option 2. And majority, overwhelming, like 99%, all chose option 2. So,
it was very nice. Nice job. We're looking forward to seeing that at Springfield 2020. Once again, the dates for Wake the Lake will be August 6th through the 8th, and we may be able to be seeing a few 45s and the F1s at Nationals, which is going to be July 12th through the 18th. I remind all of our listeners at home that we do have a few spots left for RV parking and for tailgating. Make sure you go to the Champion Park Lake website for that. John Matthews, my good buddy John Matthews, has decided to bring in a good question that we always like to ask our drivers. Any category, but what are your favorite race sites? We're going to start with you, Jason.
I think for me, I have 45-wise, Springfield for sure, and Bay City. Stock outboard, we spoke a little bit earlier, but top of Michigan for sure.
Exactly. Why would you pick Bay City and Springfield? What stands out on both of those races for you?
I think from Springfield's perspective, the entire venue is great, right? The facilities are great. And me being a roll-up / marathon driver by trade per se, it's got a right-hand turn, right? So, we don't always want to go left when you're driving the marathon. So the right-hander throws a little bit of a different element into the mix when you're trying to figure out the fastest line around the course, for sure. And then Bay City, for me, it's a local race. It's a home race. And again, being a runabout roll-up marathon guy, I like the rough water. So I haven't experienced what everybody told me. The water's been so high the couple times I've been there, it hasn't been super rough. So I think water conditions at Bay City really challenge your skill as a driver.
Yeah, and you've got the undertow and on the current and everything when you go to Bay City. But Springfield, we've got the nice, perfect atmosphere, and it is usually pretty smooth there. So, J-Dub Nelson, what is your favorite race site?
Man, I'm gonna say all the above. Anytime I can get in a boat, but I would say, talking about the history a little bit, Bay City was unbelievable. I mean, it was like the Super Bowl. The way they can attract the crowd there, the as far as the race course is concerned, it's Bay City. Pittsburgh would be very close second. Trenton's right there too. They're all rough. I mean, that's what I prefer. So Springfield is not perfect conditions. But Springfield's amazing because the venue and it's hard to find somewhere that's just dedicated to boat racing.
Yeah.
To find that private lake in the back, I mean, the place is made for boat racing. So as much as we can race there, it's unbelievable. And the right-hander is, I mean, much needed in, like, you know, driving these boats 30 laps. We need something like that. And I can't remember any place that ever had a right-hander for a 45. And I've been doing it since 03. So that was the first one. And I think that was in 2017. So yeah, love what Dana's doing. It's unbelievable work.
Well, I believe Dana's talking about running. He's going to try and get at least 5 to 6 times a year at Springfield. Like you said, it's dedicated to the racing community, and we've got plenty of parking, all of our RV spots, and of course the community totally backs us up. It's fun to walk through the pits and walk through the spectators, and all the tailgaters are out there having fun. They all have their people that they're all cheering for, they've seen in the past. So it's a lot of fun. Mike Deck, your favorite race site and why?
And so, you know, broken record, obviously, for 45, I'm going to go with Springfield because of the right-hander. I don't know about it. It was so interesting. Every time when I first started driving 45, coming from, let's say, stock outboard, right? Stock outboard, you use your body as ballast, right? And you're constantly moving. And so then you get into a 45 and you're strapped. And I still find myself trying to get up over and get onto that sponsor, right, to hold it down.
Yeah.
And then the first time I drove Springfield, you know, I came up on that right-hander and I'm like, oh my God. I think I probably took that turn at a whopping 16 miles per hour. I was so freaked out about that.
I drove.
For stock outboard, I'm going to have to agree with Topo. And then only because I had the opportunity, I actually drove a 2.5 inboard at Cedar Creek.
Oh, fun.
That was pretty cool. So,
I'm thinking that I might have to talk to Dana after this podcast. We might have to have a rollover. Let's do like a stock runabout, roll up, right hand turn. That the A stocks will run the 45 course. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah,
it'd be fun. I think we should try that.
mm-hmm. Yep.
Always something new. We're trying to find new ways to bring in more competition and be more crazy boat racers when it comes to that race. So we're going to go moving on to another fun fact between all three of you, and that's boat numbers. J-Dub Nelson, we're going to start with you. How did you get your boat number?
Yep. I would say, like, growing up, I was always number 5, but when I got to boat racing, right, and I mean, the 45 class was pretty competitive back then. And I mean, obviously just an OPC alone, trying to get a 2-digit number. So my dad, when he first started racing Formula One, he kind of teamed up with Alden Thornton, and he ran number 18, and he was kind of retiring. So my dad told him, call him, see if you can get number 18. Well, so it behold that it was Gordy Miller's number. So Fred's been trying to get us to race anyway. So I'm like, all right, I'll just call Gordy. This will be no problem. And it wasn't a problem until Jose Sr. called my dad. I think when I hung up with Gordy, Jose Sr. was calling my dad, talking about, I got 18 on my boat, my shirts and all that. And my dad's like, well, we're not trying to make any enemies. So I actually ran my dad's number the first year, 39. And then when Jose Sr. retired, like the next year, then I got 18. So I'm sorry, Bonanno, but it's mine.
It's all good, man.
I have heard more fighting about boat numbers than I've ever heard in my entire life. I even heard another story this afternoon about another fight that may possibly be happening, but we'll keep that under wraps because it's kind of fun that I've got some inside scoop on that. But Mike Deck and Jason both have a very important day tomorrow, and you put your boat number because of February for tomorrow.
Correct. My wife is very supportive of boat racing, but at the same time, she constantly reminds me that she kind of wishes I would take up a sport like chess. It's not really a sport.
That's not very fun.
No. So I run 226 because it's actually my wedding anniversary. I got married 21 years ago tomorrow. And
Nice.
so 226, February 26th, I just kind of put it all together. That and the fact that I needed an excuse to keep it in the garage. Parts or car in the garage since we've been married.
Car in the garage, boat in the garage. I think I'd be scraping windows because I think I know what's a little bit more important on that one. So congratulations. Happy anniversary, Mike Deck. Happy anniversary, Jason Bonanno. It's going to be a fun day tomorrow for both of you. So we're going to kind of move on to sponsorship. Mike Deck, you just got a brand new sponsorship that you just signed for a renewal on. Go ahead and tell us about that.
So I'm really proud to announce that in 2021, we've renewed our sponsorship with Optima Batteries, the ultimate power source. Those guys have been very supportive of boat racing. And, the thing about the 45s and the F1s and the tunnel boats, right? You have a very good chance of winning the race if you can get off the dock. If you have an electrical issue, you're not getting off the dock. I remember a race in Shreveport, Louisiana. I would automatically start 2 laps behind because I just couldn't get the bloody motor to start, right, on it. So we've got, the fine folks at Optima have put their name behind us again this year. And then I've got the local mom and pops, Hudson Women's Health, OBGYN here in Detroit, Healthcare Synergy, Electronic Medical Records in California, and a Great Lakes Dive Center here in Detroit, who are great guys because they spend a lot of time making sure that my safety equipment is ready.
Exactly. Jason, you're somewhat sponsored by Robert and Paul Trolley, and you have what is it, Python?
Yeah, so the team name, so Robert owns the race team Python Racing LLC. So we're both Italian, so Python translates into friends, literally. And Paul with Outcast Racing Halls for sure. And from a sponsorship perspective, I'm always looking for more, but I'm self-sponsored to the point where I'm directing all my sponsorship money to my 2 daughters. So anybody who wants to sponsor a stock outboarder, you can skip over dad and let's hand it down to the kids to have some fun this year.
Exactly.
Sure.
Well,
yeah.
Gearing into 2021, J-Dub Nelson, 2nd place last year. Behind Steve Merleau. What's the plans to get up on that top podium for 2021?
Oh man, like I said, I still go to bed every night thinking that if we had really, I just needed 2 more laps, Steve, 2 more. But it went 25. I wanted it to go the full 30. So anyway, yeah, we got some homework to do, so we're working on it for sure.
All right. Well, we're going to have 3 brand new boats, but only 2 people driving those boats because Mike Deck, you're going to be sitting on the beach of Hawaii because it's your 50th birthday. Your wife and your 50th birthdays in the same year. But there's rumor there's going to be a special driver. Do we let that cat out of the bag, or I think we should let all of our listeners try and guess? So if you think who's going to be driving Mike Deck's 226 at Springfield 2021, make sure Jake is already queuing in that he's gonna drive it. Maybe I will. Would we want to say that out loud? That I might actually get down into a sit-down boat from a kneeler. Matt Yarno, don't say a single word, but we're gonna go from there. So that's gonna be everybody's queue up. I want to hear who thinks they're gonna be driving Mike Deck's brand new wrap job on the 226 in 2021. That'll be a fun one. Also, reminder, Besser Health Shield Shots is giving out a case of Shield Shots. Make sure you queue in where you're from. We're going to kind of close things down just a little bit, but we always like to ask our drivers. Jason, we're going to start with you. If you could race against 5 drivers, present, past, or future, who would they be?
I would say past drivers, just from the stories I've heard. I wasn't around when Fred Miller was here, but would love to race against him. Got a lot of help over the years from John Broge as well. Always enjoy racing against J-Dub here. You know, I learned a lot looking at his rooster tail. That's all I'm going to say.
Next year, let's let you look at him in your rearview mirror. How's that sound?
Yeah, I hope to get there, right? You know, hopefully we can get it up a little bit further than we have in the past. You know, future drivers, for me, if my daughters ever let me, I would love to race against both of them at the same time, and in a class of their choice.
So game on, ladies. Where do you want to race your dad and what classes? I want to hear this. I might have to do maybe I'll have to do a podcast with your daughters. That'd be kind of fun.
Good luck with that.
They can keep it in the whole time. They want that Besser health.
Right. I have to correct myself. My older daughter's an A hydro driver. I think I screwed up and said A runabout, so she's jamming me on the bottom here. So for the record, she's an A hydro driver.
She is. But maybe we'll get her into a runabout. Maybe we'll see if we can get her to race you guys. We can watch you guys roll them up going around in the right-hand turn at 2021 Nationals. That'd be fun.
There you go. Yeah.
J-Dub Nelson, top 5 drivers that you would like to race against, present, past, or future?
I would say the top person I would not want to race against is my dad. I don't want to be anywhere on the course when he's out there. He wouldn't consider me his son at that point. So I would say I'll say Gary Pugh. I'll say Bill, Mike Siebold, and Timmy. And then the last one, I don't know. I'll say Vince Voisin.
Mike Deck, your turn. Favorite 5 drivers you'd love to race against, past, present, and future.
So probably, I was thinking about this earlier, probably first one, Jim Fox, right? Because he actually did a driver's school, and that's how I got into the 45s. The next one would be Butch Ott. I'd love to be able to get into them. The third one will actually kind of be a shocker. I spent a lot of time talking to him before he became famous, would be Sean Tarente.
Yes.
And so that would be one. Jim Fox, Bud Noman. And then finally, my rookie year, I got to race against him, but it wasn't a race. It was me just stay the heck out of his way. And that would be, once I get things just a little more dialed in, I'd love to go up against RJ.
There you go. Well, we are looking forward to everybody at 2021. Once again, the dates for Stock Mod J Nationals, where we'll be seeing Jason's daughters racing it up, is going to be July 12th through the 18th. Registration is open. Please get registered ASAP. Then we'll be going for Wake the Lake 5 on August 6th through the 8th. There is still some tailgate spots available. Make sure that you also register for that. I want to thank Besser Health Shields for helping us out and giving away. We will find out who gets to be the lucky winner of the Besser Shields. I think we just got Alyssa. I think we have a challenge, and I think we might make this happen because it is going to be a lot of fun. Bonanno family is a lot of fun to hang out with. I will tell you that right now. I've had to race against my brother and my dad, and it was a B-mod runabout, and they spun me out in every single turn. So basically, they pretty much schooled me. I remember it was a Scootney Reservoir when they did that, and it was a nightmare, but it was fun. So we've got a lot of family racing. We got a lot more racing coming up. Once again, I want to thank all 3 of you guys for being in here. Jason, J-Dub, and Mike Deck, thank you so much for your time. To our listeners, thank you for your time. Flow Racing, thank you for helping us with Champion Park Lakes. And, of course, Besser Health Shield Spots. We are ready to give away a case for you guys. So once again, thank you from Champion Park Lakes 5. My name is K-Dub Myers Brewer, and I'm signing out. And everybody have a great night, and we'll see you all very soon.